Hello, I'm Rico Cavella. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging, where in every episode, my guests and I, we strive to offer you proven tips and strategies that you can implement immediately to greatly improve your overall health and well-being. So we're here to inspire you and empower you to become your best self so you can go out and make a bigger positive impact in the world. The title of today's episode is the wild the wild flow methodology, enjoying the adventures of life at any age. And our expert guest is Waldemar Franco. He's an adventurer, entrepreneur, architect of transformative experiences. As a founder of the award-winning Rodavento hotel brand, he blends adventure, hospitality, and conscious design into everything he does. He's a pioneer in adventure travel since 1993. He has led global expeditions in kayaking, skiing, mountaineering, and more. He is the author of Find Your Wild Flow, which we're going to talk about today in today's show, which helps men reconnect with strength and agility. At age 56, he is in peak physical shape, leading immersive retreats at Rodavento. His mission is to inspire personal growth through adventure, movement, and vision. So, Waldemar Franco, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Rico. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, I really love what you're doing. So, this is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of interesting. So, tell us just briefly, tell us your story, how you came to be an adventurer and to develop your wild flow methodology.
Whew, it's a long story, but I'll try to make it as short as possible. And
Yeah, I got to make it short.
yeah, um, I live I was born and raised in Mexico City. Parents
Hmm.
are Mexican,
Hmm.
and I, as I was growing up, my dad was a pretty avid marine person. So he
Hmm.
took me to the sea and I started spear fishing and fishing since I was really young. So that kind of got me in sync with nature
Hmm.
and adventure. Eventually, when I was in college, I started whitewater paddling and mountaineering, and started an adventure travel company, a guiding company back then, in order to kind of pay for my trips
Yeah.
around and hobbies. And I got deeply involved in adventure adventure sports. So and expeditions. So I led a bunch of expeditions. I as I was studying architecture in college. So eventually I put together the two careers, one of guiding and the hospital. Eventually it became a hospitality business, taking care of my clients,
Hmm.
as well as designing hotels. And um, and that created I created a hotel brand. But on the side, I was always intrigued and really trying to be in top shape, so I could climb mountains and I could lead trips on big expeditions. And honestly, I had a hard time. I tried absolutely everything, every method, and I always found myself training really hard for a goal, be it a mountain or whatever, a
Hmm.
mountain in Peru.
Hmm.
I trained super hard. I went to the gym. I did the interval training. I climbed the mountain, and when I got back, I had a couple of torn muscles. My mind was tired,
Hmm.
and I just, got lazy for a little while, and then felt guilty
Yeah.
and started the cycle again. So um, later in my life, after a bad knee injury and surgery, I kind of got involved in trying to understand how to train differently, so
Hmm.
I could keep on doing the things that I wanted. The older I got, I'm 56 now. um, and that's how I came to design the wild flow method. Yeah, that was a pretty quick trip, but that's how it came to be. I really designed it for myself,
Yeah.
um, in order in order for me to keep my body agile and mobile and with energy and strength, so I could keep on, doing what keeps me alive, what I call the adventure of life. And uh, and that's how it came to be.
Yeah, that's such a great story, and I totally can relate with you and all. It's life is an adventure, and so many people just never step into the adventures and really see what all of those possibilities. And a lot of it is because they're not fit. They don't have enough energy or strength, or they're not good enough shape to do that. I know so many people like that. So that I've been a personal trainer for 40 some years. And you just wonder why more people don't get in good shape and take care of their bodies and be healthy so they can experience all these things. So I really like what you're doing, and I understand too. It's not necessarily about just beating yourself up and getting into top shape. You have to kind of adapt the fitness to whatever activity that you're doing, right? I think whatever you want to do, there's different things that you can do that'll help you to be do well at that particular activity. And so yes, so that's I like what you said. So you developed your wild flow methodology. So and then you wrote your book, Find Your Wild Flow. So let's talk about your that methodology, and then talk about your book, what's in your book, and what people can expect to learn.
Yeah, what happened is that I was always training what I describe as from the outside in, trying to
Mm-hmm.
just to get fit and get strong by going hardcore. And after my two knee surgeries and all these things pass through your head and say, I started asking myself, what if after the surgery I never get back in shape and I can never, climb or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How would I cope with that? And so I started asking myself if I was doing it correctly, and eventually, kind of, when I was younger, I was into martial arts a bit. So I started training martial arts, and as you know, martial arts is really like a discipline, a set of rituals, and that you repeat again and again. But really, they come from the inside. It's not about who strikes the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
It's about who really does it with the heart, moves with the heart. And I tried to incorporate that notion into my movement. I also started, moving and imitating animals, animal locomotion, these, animal flow, which is a brand, but it's really about imitating animals, animal movement, which is an ancient practice.
Yeah,
Kung
that's
Fu is about imitating animals, right?
and yoga. A lot of yoga poses were learned by watching animals. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I started incorporating that, and then I started asking myself if just pushing yourself was the good method.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to understand that sometimes the the body the body has cycles, I feel. Sometimes you're full of energy and sometimes you're not. And
Mm-hmm.
and you can't fight that, if you're feeling a little bit sick or sad, or you're a little bit down. It's hard to go out and train really hard. And if you do, eventually you get tired. You mentally get tired and convince yourself, is this worth it?
And you can wear
Oh,
your body down. You can wear your body down. Yeah.
yeah. So I started understanding that if you really learn how to listen to your body
Mm-hmm.
and know when you can really hammer, because you're full of energy and you're in this upside part of the cycle, then it's time to go hard.
Mm-hmm.
But other days it's time to chill. It's time to go a little slower. And when you start really incorporating this feeling of yourself into your daily practice, then things um, you can really. What I ask myself is what I'm doing today sustainable for 20 years? Can I still keep doing this every single day for 20 or 30 years? And if the answer is yes, then I'm training for longevity. If the answer is no, then I'll eventually drop it.
Hmm.
So the wild flow method is really focused on how to develop daily habits, which eventually become rituals that you can sustain for forever. I actually changed my vocabulary in training. I asked myself, in my vocabulary, a routine. Everybody says, my routine today is
Hmm.
whatever,
Hmm.
press
Yeah.
or bench press or whatever, pull ups. And I said, routine for me is something that I have to do every day, that regardless of if I want to or not, it's a must. And it becomes kind of monotonous, right? So I changed the word routine for the word ritual. So
Hmm.
I don't do my daily routine, I do my daily rituals. And my daily rituals are my movement
Hmm.
practice.
Yeah.
So just by changing that word, when I get up, I my mind is saying you're doing your ritual, and your ritual generally means something that nourishes, that brings you joy, that you want to accomplish, right? So that just that change totally removed the obstacles.
I really love that. That's so well said. I totally agree with that. Yeah, like you say, your ritual it it energizes you both mentally and physically and emotionally. And also, I like how you call it the flow, because like I say, when you're aware of the flow that you're in, then you know how to respond. So when you're really in the flow, you're not just you're doing what you should be doing for that particular time. I totally love that. That's so good, Waldemar. That's so good. Well, I'll tell you what, we're gonna take a short 60-second message for our audience, and when we come back, we'll talk more about your book, what's all in your book, and how it can help you. Also, I want you to talk about how doing these adventures, how it can transform your life in so many ways. All
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
we'll be right back.
Wake up.
I thought we will come up.
Do you wake up feeling exhausted, stiff, and sore? Do you feel like no matter how hard you try, those extra pounds won't budge, and the energy and vitality you once had are slipping further away? If this sounds like you, don't give up. Feeling tired and immobile isn't your destiny. It's not too late to take back your energy, your youthful shape, and feel great in your body again. Meet Rico Caveglia, America's healthy aging trainer, creator of the Aging Living Lifestyle and the Vitality for Life Wellness Program. At age 83, Rico has the moves and vitality of someone half his age and has a fitness age of just 35. For over 40 years, Rico has helped hundreds of people just like you regain their energy and vitality. That's agelessliving.lifestyle.com/coaching to learn more and book your free call with Rico to see if you or your parents are a good fit for this transformational program.
All right, we're back with Waldemar Franco. He's the creator of the Wild Flow methodology. So let's talk about a little bit more about your methodology, and talk about your book. You have a book out. It's called Find Your Wild Flow. And by the way, stay to the end, and we'll let you know how you can get a copy of his Wild Flow book. And he also has a great free mini course on mobility. And really, mobility is really about, if you want to age well, it's all about being mobile and flexible. Isn't that right?
I totally believe that. Uh, yeah, I believe that at certain age, your body either becomes the obstacle or the vehicle for
Mm-hmm.
you to enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't if you can't move, you know, it's hard to or impossible to do the things you want, be it, you know, climb a mountain or just play a little match of pickleball.
Yeah.
But if you're happy and you can move freely and with strength and with yeah, with energy, then you can plan anything. You can plan a bike trip to Europe or whatever. And I think that is not only about, you know, being fit and being at your correct weight or even, you know, showing a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
It's about joy, you know, enjoying life. And I see so many people that after, you know, 55, they used to play sports, they used to be active, and eventually, you know, it starts getting more difficult, and you get into this trend, into this cycle of, I feel guilty, I train super hard, I train for a marathon, I run the marathon, I hurt my Achilles tendon, and I don't train, and then I feel guilty again and do the same cycle.
Yeah.
And it's not sustainable.
Right. Exactly
So
right.
so that's what honestly started happening personally. And what happened is that, you know, I started sharing my movement with friends, and they started saying, "Man, you look good, and you're keeping strong, and you can do the same things that you did when you were 35. What are you doing?" And I started sharing what I was finding for myself. And then what one good friend from California, actually a producer, said, "You know, you should share this. You should seriously think about sharing this with other people, because you found something that people can take advantage of." So that's when I started writing the book. It took about a year and a half of deep deep search,
Mm-hmm.
and questioning my beliefs, and but it's out there. And since I wrote it, I've done quite a few retreats and training sessions for people, and I feel it just makes sense. You know, people say, This makes sense for me." Um, so that's what the Find Your Wild Flow book is. It's not just, it is far from, I would say, far from a recipe for training. It is more about how to break down the mental barriers
Mm-hmm.
that keep us from getting up every single day and moving, you know, and moving, um, you know, keeping our joints mobile, keeping our energy up, keeping our will to and our dreams alive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, the biggest objection is up here, right?
Yeah.
Is I
Yeah.
wake up and, you know, not today.
Yeah.
I went to bed late last night, and I'm gonna rest. And then if you don't start creating these positive habits that eventually become rituals, then it's really hard to sustain it.
Yeah. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I totally agree. But and well, Waldemar, I'm a living example of what you're talking about. See, I've been sustaining it now. Like say, I'm 83. So, but again, just like you said, you had to realize when you're younger, you can just go hammer all the time and beat yourself up. And I used to be a hardcore cyclist, but then I realized, riding 75 miles and all that's not that all that great for you, really. So I really had to adjust my training too to just like you say, just get into a more of a flow and so something that's sustainable, so you can stay fit and healthy all of your life, no matter what your age.
Yeah, and I feel that once you get into this flow, honestly, of I really believe in training out in nature. You know,
Yeah,
sometimes you have to be in a gym or you have to be
yeah,
wherever, but the wild flow is about, as the word wild describes, is about being out there as much as possible and moving and feeling like a wild man, right? Like if we were free roaming out there. And so, doing pull-ups on a tree branch, or running barefoot on the grass. um I feel the more you can do that, it just energizes and it gets your body more in sync with with the rhythm of nature.
Don't
um
you don't you agree that everything that we really need to know and to learn, we can learn from nature?
Totally. And I feel that I really feel that sometimes, like, I see people, I go in a gym, right? And I see this guy or lady, who goes on the treadmill, turns on her iPad, turns on the news or
Yeah,
whatever, Netflix thing, puts on the headphones and just runs, right? And then, she finished her 30-minute workout and then she goes to a shower. I feel that doing movement without being present is so less productive than doing the same amount of movement but being present without the headphones,
yeah.
out there in a park with yourself, under the sunlight. It's just so much more beneficial for the body.
I totally agree. I just hate seeing, people in the gym and they're looking at their phone. They can hardly put their phone down before they're doing a rep, and then they look at their phone again. I totally agree. They're just so cut off from nature and from the present moment. So good. Yeah.
And I feel that it's not a recipe. I feel that you have to put everything together for it to work. Like, be out there, be in the sun, be in nature, then be aware of your body, be present, be mindful, train hard when you have the energy and feel strong. Lay back when you don't, but still move. Don't stay in bed until unless you're really sick,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I always say that one good idea or mindset is, if your wife asks you, if you're sitting down, right, watching TV, and or your daughter or whatever, hey dad, can you get up and, you know pass me a glass of water? Instead of being annoyed, I say yes, because it's a chance to move. It's just a chance to move, and the more you move, the better. So I feel that the accumulation of these little things make it sustainable. And
Yeah.
eventually, when you repeat that for many years, you really become strong and fit.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're exactly right. We've convenienced ourselves to death, haven't we? I mean, people now you can't even turn on your speaker. You can just say turn on the speaker. You can't even get up and. I know it's just crazy.
It is crazy.
Well, tell us a little bit. We've only got a couple of minutes left here, so but tell us, give us an idea of how being out in nature on an adventure trip, how it can just transform your life.
Well, for me, honestly, I think that we all, life is, I sometimes say that it's kind of life. If you're not really aware, you kind of end up being in like in a in a train car, and life kind of takes you wherever it wants. So
Mhm.
you really have to be aware and eventually say, I'm going to step down and let that train go and just start designing and planning where I want to take my life.
Mhm.
So for me, getting out in adventure, getting back to a mountain, it just refocuses and gives me a chance to realign where I want to be. Like, I want to be the architect of my life, and I don't want anybody else to take me on their path.
Yeah.
And so that's, for me, it's really important to realign and rethink where I want to go, who I want to go with, who I want to ride that path of life with.
Yeah.
So that, for me, that adventure and nature is that deep. But of course, I have a strong background of being out there, so
Yeah. Well,
I'm
Baltimore,
really
that
biased.
I totally agree with you, and we're just about out of time. I thank you so much. I love what you're doing, and I really encourage our audience to go to your website, wildflowmethod.com. We'll put that link in the description and check out your book. And also be sure and get your free course, your mini course on mobility, because it's all about staying mobile so you can move and enjoy your life. So again, that was great. Thank you for being here, and thank to all of our audience for being here. And I like to end all of my shows with Einstein saying, "Knowledge without action is useless." So we always give you some good information, knowledge, and wisdom, but you got to take action on it. So thanks everybody for being here.
Thank you, Rico. It was a pleasure.